who would you like to start out with?
Let's start with someone in Germany. Let's go with Phil in Germany. Phil, you're live with Eric and V.
Hello again. It's been 11 months.
Hey, wow.
Hello.
I'm the guy with the Stockholm syndrome.
Oh,
Remember, I quoted my favorite Austrian philosopher who
Oh,
said that
yeah.
religion was a Stockholm syndrome with a self-invented hostage taker.
Oh,
Okay.
I remember you.
And today I would like to talk about Calvin and Hobbes,
Calvin and Hobbes, the cartoon strip?
the cartoon strip. Because my favorite one is very religious, and I would like to quote it. But first, I would like to introduce it by referring to the same Austrian philosopher who once said that there are two ways to ask the question why in the world. And it has to do with finding the pointy end of the arrow between cause and effect.
Okay.
So one why is the question to what purpose? That would be the theistic one. And the other why means for what reason? That's the scientific question.
Okay, I like that.
Why does it rain? It rains so the plants can grow and we have something to eat. That would be to what purpose?
Yeah.
But
why does it scientifically? Because of the water cycle
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And Calvin and Hobbes, it describes this marvelously. They are sitting under a tree, and Calvin asks, "Why do you suppose we are here?" "Because we walked here." No, I mean here on Earth. "Because Earth can support life." "No, I mean why are we anywhere? Why do we exist?" "Because we were born." Forget it. I will, thank you. And
Yeah.
that wraps it up, I think.
Yeah, no, 100%.
That definitely speaks to this idea that there needs to be a deeper purpose, and that's just not always the case. And I don't think people would be generally upset about it if they weren't sold on this idea that they're supposed to have it in the first place. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
like I don't think people would be missing this idea of heaven if they'd never been sold on the idea of heaven in the first place. And so it's this. It's kind of like being told you're going to be given $1 million. And then when nobody gives it to you, you feel bad, even though you never had it in the first place. It just, there's this feeling, there's this sense of loss. So I get that. What do you think, Fee?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I think that that perfectly sums up why there's so much of a disconnect a lot of the time when you're talking as a skeptic to somebody who is religious, because you can both use the same question, why, right? But it really does come down to, well, what kind of answer are you going to be looking for from this? And so there's a lot of, crosstalk that doesn't really help. So just having that in the front of your mind when you're having conversations with theists, that, oh, they are asking about purpose, and so you have to accurately address that as opposed to say reason. That makes a lot of sense.
I've definitely heard arguments between religious folk and atheists where the religious person says, well, why are we here? Well, because my parents had sex. And for some reason, that is just entirely, not helpful to the religious person. But they asked why, because we're answering a different why. So that's fair. That's fair.
And,
Now, here's a question for you.
Yeah, okay.
Hold on just a second. Sorry, was that a doorbell?
It may have been.
Interesting. Anyway, sorry. I just got entirely knocked off track.
Well, if you would like to go check that out.
Yeah. Do you want to grab it?
Sure.
Okay. I'll be right back.
So, yeah, Phil, I think that one thing that someone pointed out when talking about the cosmological argument and the concept of why are we here, that question, it was exactly that. I don't think they cited the philosopher that you did, but essentially everyone who says, well, we're here because we couldn't not be here, is kind of, it's accurate, but it's also a cop-out, right? Because it's pretending that the question is different than what it actually is. The question is, what is a purpose? What is the purpose of all of this? And so to say, well, the reason is, can be, it can be disconcerting and not really answer the question for the people.
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of purpose, if religious people have the purpose of an eternal afterlife, this reduces mathematically our life to zero. If I divide any given number of years by infinity, I get zero. So
effectively zero.
Effectively zero. And no matter if I am James Dean, who died at the age of 23, I think, or Norman Lloyd, who just passed away at the age of 106.
It's nothing compared to infinity.
Nothing compared to, yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes I find it insulting to our life to be reduced. So, in this way, it's maybe a little harsh.
Well, I mean, I totally get that. I do. And we're going to need to move on to the next caller soon. But
okay.
I totally get that. But what I would urge is empathy, because that's not what they mean. And I know that I've talked to religious folk who are like, but Eric, you're going to burn in hell. And for a while, my reaction was, wow, I don't believe in God, so you, in your mind, are putting me in the place of someone who deserves to be in hell. And that was until I had a friend who thought that, who just broke down crying. Mm-hmm. And he was so afraid and worried for me. And so while it can be offensive, as long as we recognize that that's not necessarily what the person we're talking to is intending, that empathy first. But Phil, thank you so much for calling.
Thank you for taking me, and it's been a pleasure.
It's been wonderful talking with you again.
Thank you for following us over, by the way. 11 months. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it was on December 6th, I think.
Wow.
Sehr good.
Yeah. Okay.
Dankeschön.
Bye-bye.
Tschüss.